Okay. Going in now. Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay, I hear you loud and clear. Happy tax day.
Happy tax day, everybody. Hopefully, everybody got that out of the way already. Maybe you got a refund. Maybe you paid whatever you had to. But hopefully, you got that stuff done. Happy tax day, everybody. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. May talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is your first time here. I'm Coach Jay, been a top step performance coach since 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 2 years. I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share my experiences, some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. And you're all the chat. Let us know how you did today. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Anything that you learned from the day? Maybe you stayed flat because the equities were pretty flat. Is that a euro chart? This is a Swiss franc chart. A Swiss franc chart. I don't even know why I have this one up, to be honest, but I do know
Very
why I have
similar.
it. Yeah, very similar to the euro. I think I was scanning through a couple of different charts. I am in a short in the Canadian dollar. Just from a technical perspective, I like that short. That's a swing trade that I'm in. Again, anything we talk about here is for educational purposes only, not a suggestion to take a trade. But I think I was just kind of comparing the currency futures. But Bink, $200 and locked it out. JD says Green Day on the free new compound, thanks to MP. Shout out to MP and the Topstep team giving out free resets to everyone that had a tough week in the markets last week. And even if you didn't, hopefully use that free reset wisely. Crypto student, welcome, welcome. Elvis, do not do bad at all. Chop Fest, up small in a combine. Got walloped by 2 tape bombs. Yeah, we'll talk about those. We will talk about those for sure. Let's take a look, see if the Trader Hub is back up. Trader Hub is back up. We had some news out this morning. We had Canadian CPI come out a little bit lower than expected, 2.3%. Forecast was 2.7. And then we had a New York Fed manufacturing number come in at negative 8.10. Forecast was negative 13.5. Import prices came in at negative 0.1%. Forecast was 0%. Export prices came in flat. Forecast was flat. Outside of that, Coach, we didn't have too much else on the news, whether planned or unplanned. Anything that you got from the news, Coach?
Nothing from the news. I think the headline is crushing vol.
Yeah.
For pretty substantial hit of lack of news, probably lack of tweets, has rained in the volatility as we've all witnessed today. I think that's the headline for me, is lack of headlines.
Sorry, I was talking on mute. Lack of headlines. It feels like that's what the market is waiting for. I'm sure once we get a headline, I think we saw some talks about a deal with the EU on tariffs, and that gave us a little bit of volatility. But the market looks like it's looking for some type of concrete news to try to hang its hat on for a trade, or otherwise we kind of just stay in this balance until we figure that out. Let's take a look at the quote board really quick. We have 35 different markets we can trade with Top Step accounts, and not just the equities. And today, to the downside, we had wheat futures down 0.96%, micro Bitcoin futures down 1.05%, and the Swiss franc, our biggest percentage mover, to the downside at 1.2%. To the upside, we had gold up 0.57%, platinum up 1.39%, and soybean oil up 2.03% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. The S&Ps down 0.23%. The NASDAQ up 0.12%. Crude oil down 0.07%. And gold up 0.58% to round out our big four. Coach, it was a pretty uneventful day in these markets today. 2 days in a row now, we're kind of getting some indecision. Today's candle, almost a doji, right? Closed higher than it opened, but we never left yesterday's range. It's an inside day on the daily. What are we looking at here, Coach? What's going on here?
Well, once again, what's that high? That yellow line is a 20-day moving average. From my perspective, as institutions haven't committed to going full allocation.
Mm.
But the more time we spend this going in this range, still in that candle from what was that last Wednesday now? And that candle, a lot of that was in the half hour. Ever since then, we've been captured. There is, I can see basing, balance, but the green light is not here. Like you said, it's indecision. Thus, the range today in the NASDAQ, actual range was 335 points. Back to normal?
I don't know if it's back to normal yet. I still hesitate to say that. I was actually thinking about that, Coach, and we talked about it a little bit on the opening call. Remember when 345 points was a trend day,
Yeah.
right? So it's weird to say that a 345 point day on the NASDAQ is a range bound day. And if that's the case, if that's a consolidation, then at some point we're looking for a bigger move, unless volatility is just coming down all the way, right? And we get back to, a daily ATR of 400 points or less. Do we think we're in the clear from all the tariff news? Think-
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
It's
same.
like I said, there will be more tariff news, obviously, but the market itself is what we trade. I mean, most of the action was in the first half an hour.
Yep. Yes, it was. I have this on regular trading hours. I'm going to switch this over to extended trading hours. But yeah, this is pretty tight range day. Not too much going on. And we've seen these markets do this, right? If this was a crude oil chart, we'd be talking about how, I don't see too much opportunity. I'm not going to do too much. And I think what's really important, Coach, and what I want to kind of point out to traders, I took some losses today in an XFA looking for a breakout trade that didn't happen. Just because we default to a market every day doesn't mean we have to place a trade in that market every day. And I saw some traders say, you know what, I stayed flat. Saw some traders on Twitter saying, 0 trades over the last 2 days for me just because it doesn't fit a process. And I think that's really
Yay.
okay to say that in this environment right now where we're really not getting direction, right? Range bound traders, this is where you want to eat, right? This is the exact price action that you're looking for. If you're a trend trader looking for breakouts, looking for similar moves, trying to catch part of the move, like some of the move that we had last week, we talked about this last week, right? Some traders might have had their biggest trading days ever last Wednesday, right? Just catching part of that move. If you try to repeat that just from a numbers perspective, you're having the worst time of your life right now because the markets aren't presenting the opportunity to do it.
The
Go ahead,
great
Coach.
point. Because when you catch one of those,
Yeah,
man, it's all you're looking for again. At least one out of
changes your
them. It's
perspective.
like that's like an outlier's outlier. That's in the 0.01% of the time that's going to happen.
Yep.
If you caught it, you might want to take the rest of the month off. If not, no, I just don't. That helps the curve of your return. But trying to find that, I've done that. Trying to keep finding that every day is unrealistic.
Yeah.
But I did like what you just said. So people said, I'm just It didn't fit my plan. I didn't trade. I love to hear that. That's exactly what that's discipline. That's a routine. We talked about it yesterday. And yeah, I lost on my day trading today on the S&P. I bought it early, got stopped out. Um, I
Happens.
have to I have to trade that plan. Um, but I didn't blow up the account. That's what can happen in a day like today for breakout traders like myself. I tried it once, and I'm done. So I'm glad to hear that. I mean, that's really encouraging news out there. This is where discipline really matters. Um, don't get whipsawed. Boy, and there was some whipsawing today.
Yes, there was. Heard a lot of traders saying they got caught in those tape bombs today. Um, our goal here is to try to review the markets and see where the opportunity was, right? So then we can use this information in real time to try to take trades. From what I've seen today, the opportunity was in identifying the range. Now, how can we identify range? Talked about that a couple of times. Initially, it looked like a great buy, Coach.
Oh
I
yeah,
was buying because this looked like it was going to break. But again, on that higher time frame, we have that 20 moving average on the daily that's acting as that resistance. Maybe I need to stop trying to preempt the trade long and wait for the market to actually settle above it. But my first trade was to the long side, like looking for this breakout that we didn't get ultimately. This VWAP started to flatten out. We saw uh, this tape bomb here. This is at 918. You can see higher volume than the open in this 3-minute candle here. And then if we attach VWAP to that, that was pretty much our range for the day. It was a flat line. And when you see something like this, if you're going to trade, the higher probability trades are fading the extremes of this range. Now, we don't get full extensions to it, but I think in this environment, especially, Coach, I did a call with some VIPs later in the afternoon, and we'll show the candle we kind of framed out later in the day. But if I'm looking for breakout trades here, and everyone use the markets differently. For me, using VWAP, if it's this flat, I really don't want any of my trade entries around it because it feels like a 50-50 and the market can go either way. But also in that case, if I see profits and I'm in the middle of the range with my entries, I'm going to try to take them, right? I could get in here at 19,000s and want 19,500 as a target. The market wasn't willing to give me 25% of that. So this really felt like a see profit take profit environment to me. We can see the rejections at the extremes of those ranges. Eventually, we trade back to the lower extreme of it as well. But there are points available here. I put on some trades with the VIPs just in a practice account, and a one lot mini was up 500 $500 in, and we didn't break out of the range, right? So there's opportunity. You don't need to trade minis; you could trade micros as well. But we really have to understand what the personality of the day of the market is, and then frame our trades around that. Uh, Anything else you got on the equities, Coach?
I didn't take a look at the other ones like the Dow
Okay,
or the Russell. Was anything any oddities? Yeah, Dow, was that a Dow?
this is the Dow. It
Oh,
looks kind of similar,
yeah, a little.
little more of an extension to that downside.
Yeah. Um, and the Russell.
Let's take a look at the Russell. The Russell was the first mover today. I did have the quote board up while I was trading, and the Russell was the first mover. Uh, this one probably gave a better opening range breakout trade initially, but similar story. We kind of ended. VWAP went flat, had that high volume. Kind of the same story.
I'm starting to think this, that's where the gamma players came in light volume, you know, because the option world is dictating the trade right now. What do I mean by that? When I talked earlier, the vol is collapsing after being in nosebleed territory.
Right. Can't sprint a
So what?
marathon.
Yeah, you can't spring except for those couple Kenyans.
Yeah, they're
I went
different, built
I
different.
went to the finish line one time and watched. I was just stunned. These guys, I couldn't like they could keep pace with a car. I was like, wow, like it's superhuman. But markets don't, and it's catching up. So and I don't see any. What's tomorrow? We have Powell
Uh,
talking tomorrow.
let's see what's on the calendar for tomorrow. We got the Bank of Canada rate decision. We have industrial production month over month, retail sales, a couple earnings reports. Don't. Oh yeah, we do have Powell speaking at 12:30 Central Time. 12:30 Central Time. So that might give us some volatility, some more Fed speakers later on in the afternoon. It is also a holiday week, right? The markets
Hmm.
are closed on Friday. So maybe that's why we're not seeing volume. Maybe it's just a holiday week and everyone's preparing for the holiday. But uh, yeah, just not really seeing much of a directional push in either direction in really any of the markets that we trade, Coach. Anything else on the equities before we move on to gold?
No. I
Take a look at gold. Kind of the same story here. Where did all my indicators go? Back. All right, I'll just bring them back manually.
you know, I thought I was the only one with that problem. It's good.
I must have clicked something. Okay, there they go. They're back. Yeah, I definitely clicked something because now I got double volume. All right,
Really good
gold.
move last night.
Let's look at last night. Right, we know we're in an uptrend. We had the 3 down days in an uptrend. We immediately kind of reversed that move. We're hanging out, maybe building a little bit of a flagging pattern here on the daily. Let's take a look at last night in gold, Coach. That's where the trade was.
Yeah. By the way, and I was watching it. Do you that happened very fast, and we've been talking about some entity at about hmm, in Asia, probably the largest country in Asia, maybe. I don't know, but it's a pattern. Right around that time, they came in, and if we break it down to the 5 minute, yeah. And then if you weren't there, I mean, it just they stopped. But whatever entity, when that buying stopped, it really slowed down. But it was quick and hard. Um,
Uh, they when price came back there, right? Whoever that buyer was defending that price, wherever they started this buying, get back down to that range.
right. How many times? I mean, we gotta start keeping data on that.
I mean, just go watch any random episode of At the Buzzer between today and July of 2024, and there's at least one of these every single day. And probably more than one. I see some traders in the chat talking about J trades that they found or volume exhaustion trades that they found in the equities. You guys are seeing them, right? And again, the goal of this segment is to identify these things, and we could do this with any type of analysis, right? We could do it with volume profile, Coach. If you look at the same things all the time,
Yeah,
you're going to see the patterns. Right now, it's really all of our job as traders is to execute when they show up. So
yeah.
that's the whole game
Wow. And what did we get off of that bounce off the middle range?
right there.
There it is. Now you might not see that in the three minute. It was there on the 5 minute.
Let's look at the three. It was there, even a little
Okay.
more defined on the three.
So you just said there. It's there, but what we're talking about yesterday, and I know that's a theme, is routine. Get a routine. That's what you're looking for. Be ready. The problem is, as traders, we get bored. well, I'm not doing anything. And
Yep.
if I'm not doing anything, there's a work ethic. I need to do something. No, you don't. It's so tempting. Like
Your job is waiting.
your job is waiting. So I see someone got that gold last night. Good job. Yeah, it was a Thomas Teal. Good job.
N-
Um,
Nice trade. Nice trade. And what I will say as well, Billy said it in the chat. We should all be millionaires. You still need to size correctly for these trades, right? Just because I see this happen doesn't mean I can put on a 15 lot and say, okay, yeah, well, that's the trade. Because there's a percentage of the time where these things don't work out, right? Or we need to trade the uh, proper contract size for our account balance, and that's the trick, right? It's the trick with trading is over. Well, what happens to a lot of traders is you over leverage into something that you think is a sure thing. You get stopped out, you take a loss on the natural market fluctuations, and then you start to question what you know, right? What you know isn't wrong. Your execution of it might be. Uh, so just be
it's a
conscious of.
it's a probability game.
Yep.
Coach, look at it. See, there's a possible J trade before that
This
with the
one
big
right here.
volume right there.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your contract size, so it never makes a new low, coach, but depending on your contract size.
And it broke. And that one was a loss.
Yep.
So, like you said, you don't ever, this time for sure, I'll put on, you said 15.
All right.
Um, it's a probability game. And then the next one is if you did it too large, the next one that came, maybe you don't have the bullets.
Right.
But I mean, that might have got to a 2-to-1.
You got a 1-to-1 on the first one. You took it at the high of the range and risking the low. On the second one, got a 2-to-1, but it made you wait until almost the end of the day.
Okay.
Right? You got a 2-to-1 there. So it's a nice trade, but again, they don't all play out exactly the same way, right? And I know with my trade management style, I probably would have taken something off the table here. Probably, right? I probably would have taken something off the table here just because you would have been, 7 points or so in the profit. Uh, but you don't know that for sure in the moment, right? So you can't over leverage saying, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to manage the same way every single time." Uh, all right, coach. Anything else on gold?
Um, still looks good.
All time highs tonight when they buy it in Asia. Everything we say
It
here is for
seems
educational purposes only, not trading advice. But go ahead.
seems to be. I know this. I'm not going to sell it.
Yep.
But you know, if you're selling it and and you have a trade that you have a planned routine, take it. For me, I eliminate one side in anything I trade. Um, this one does not look toppish to me. So yeah, but
32.63 all time highs in the gold
uh,
futures. 32.63. We closed today at 32.45. So about 18 points away. And that can happen in a 3-minute candle. The buyers are that convinced. Coach Hoop says, I'm looking seasonal weakness in gold, coach's scalp. Scalp short? Okay. Coach Hoop the sniper.
he is a
You see it.
sniper.
You see it. He said it there for a scalp. He's not looking for this trend to turn around. Scalp trade, see profit, take profit, and I'm out of here. So good stuff. Crude oil. Let's take a look on the daily. Jeez. Did
Pardon
it
me?
open today? Did it open at all today? What is this? Range for ants?
It's, what movie was that from? Oh, was that Zoolander?
Zoolander. Yeah.
Uh,
$1.15 range today in crude oil. This is the crude that Deanna hates. Uh, and for range bound traders, maybe there was opportunity here as well. I think in a lot of these markets, that April 9th daily candle, we're still trading inside of that range. We haven't left yet, and I don't see these markets getting directional until we can get outside of this range at all. Uh, the high of that range in crude oil, pretty much close to $63. 50% is right at 59. The lower end is at 55. Dollar and 15 cent range today, Coach.
Was it that large? Well, by the way, I'm actually friendly to it. I just bought it late today. For because looking at the 200 moving average,
On the 30 or the daily?
yeah,
Okay,
on
got
the
you.
30,
Can see that.
and it's turning. We held it. We're above the 20 and the 50 are holding. Well, what I'm saying, look at all the moving averages after this large move.
Yep.
So we're getting balance. Um, Towards this range we've been talking about since I think we started at the buzzer.
Pretty much.
um, and a long-term balance for long-term range or finding balance we're above the 200. I like it for my purposes is not much risk. I don't have to give it much time. If it goes, my I have upside potential, but downside from the way from my perspective is small. I can risk a couple $100, and if we get some momentum to the upside, might catch a decent fish.
Good stuff. Catching some fish here. All right. We went through the four markets again. These are pretty slow. And if you guys have any questions, we'll answer those. I see we do have a couple in the chat. I'm gonna throw this one to you, Coach. Because are we in backwardation on spot VIX still?
Yes, I believe. I don't watch the VIX futures itself. I did hear that. Um,
Okay.
I don't have the quotes, but that can change
So
real
is
quick.
that spot higher than futures?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Now with that, you could see that's going to be that's a good question. If we turn around for any reason, there's a cure for tariffs, some news like that, and we start going higher, that backwardation will just flip the other
Hmm.
way. Um, I don't it I don't know how rare that is, but the last I heard it kind of shocked me. I'm like, oh, really? Now I'm short Val by being short put spreads from last Thursday or Friday.
Okay.
I have to look at the date, but it is collapsing. Um, in the vol explosion, the front end is where the action's at, and that's where people were caught. Um, but if we have another day like today, and I'd imagine that's going to flip.
Okay. Good
Great
stuff, Coach.
question.
Thank you for that. JT has a question. Coaches, how does a trader develop a process in these conditions? I've been in great trades and Trump says a few words and the market does something totally ridiculous. When will it be normal again? Uh, JT, this might be, and I'm not joking here. This might be the norm for where we're at right now, right? You know, there's at any given time a tweet or a headline or a comment that can move the markets, depending on what those comments are. So I think just adjusting to the volatility, whatever's causing the volatility, is important. Uh, how do you develop a process in these conditions? If you've been in great trades and there's some, a random headline or something that comes out and affects your trade, stops you out, uh, maybe look at the option of trailing stops, right? Where Is this in an environment for me? I know what I'm doing. If my trades, honestly, I've been trying to wait to take trades until we get one of those volume spikes because that's giving me a higher probability of follow through. Uh, I'm not going to pull up the quant hour chart just because it takes a little too long to do that. But one of the trades, and I was kind of upset that at how I traded today, because I told myself it's just like, hey, be patient and wait for some of these trades. I told you guys I use quant hour for the volume analysis, and there was a spike of volume that happened, and I'm on a 1 second chart right now. There was a spike of volume that happened in the
There it
Nasdaq
is.
in 1 second. Yeah, you guys can see it here, right? 1,200 contracts traded in a 2 second clip. This, for me, is when I should be trading and not until something like this happens, right? Because if we look at it and I frame that out, that's 2 seconds of price action, but a ton of selling came in there. We zoom out, the market respected that range the rest of the day. So my trades should be based on that, right? If my trades aren't based on something like that, then I'm in see profit, take profit mode and securing some profits along the way. Right. If the market is giving me some favorable profits and I'm worried about a tape bomb, a tweet, or something like that, taking me out of a position, then I need to secure some profits along the way as the market presents it. Right. Because what we've been seeing is unless there's a headline, there's no trend. Right. We've been in a range and then some random headline, the algos pick up, a comment and start to spaz and the markets go crazy. Right. How do you control that? So for me personally, I'm doing my best. And Coach Paul, you said it perfectly. Uh, you know, our job as traders is to try to wait and but we get bored, right? We get bored. We feel like we need to put a trade on. Right? I might be watching Topstep TV or some people watching 6 different streams at the same time. You hear traders putting on trades and you feel like, hey, what the hell is wrong with me? Why am I not doing something? But if it doesn't fit your playbook, then you don't have to take a trade. But if you're in good trades, JT, uh, and some of that volatility is taking you out, I would say try to find a way to secure some of the profits. What would you say to that, Coach?
Well, I would if one of the things I don't know if what your process includes dynamic um, risk management, paying attention to the volatility, or the easiest way is the average true range and
Mm,
adjust. If you have a good process, and I know that these random ramblings um, make make an effect, but it's making an effect for the market in general. That's why we have high vol. I don't know, but maybe start looking at the average true range and see if that can help you size down. I know it's helped me. I'm today. By the way, I doubled my size today. I went from 1 micro to 2,
there you
and
go.
it lost on the opening range breakout. But I'm fine with that. I don't. It's not going to ruin my account. But the average true range in a 3 minute last week, I think it was Thursday, was 22 points in 3 minutes. Oh, but today was 6. So that will help bring consistency in your risk per trade. I hope that helps you. Um, when does it end? Well, I don't know. I really don't
Don't know.
know.
Yeah, we really don't know. We really don't know. All right. Bullet traders question: if you are long a two lot and say 40% to your target, do you take one off? And this is a question specifically for you, Coach Paul. And I'll do that for Justin Church since saying just coach is cringe. Since we're not on the basketball court here. Uh, Church, I'm gonna call you Church. We're not even gonna call you Justin Church, your full name. Shout out to you, Church. I see your comments in the chat all the time. Uh, we appreciate you being here. Um, so for Church, and bullet traders. If you were long a two lot and save 40% to your target, do you take one off and pay yourself or hold the trade? What are some reasons you might cut the trade early or leave a runner?
Oh, wow. We have a long-term listener. That's a great question. Um, well, if I can get out early if it like we'll say the 200 moving average. If I buy it and it's above the 200 moving average, I put 2 ATR stop. Let's say I buy it now that a few bars later it closes under the 200 bar moving average. I'm out. Cancel my stop. Okay. When so the, that's how I get out earlier. And by the way, I'm not saying it. I don't get stopped out that often, although I did today. Um, I don't. There could be some new information. The other one is runners. That's a that's a good question. One way you can do it is if you do two lots on an opening range breakout, and you get whatever your 1.5, 2.5 to 1 on a profit, whatever it is.
Yep.
Keep the other one to look for double that. That's one way to do it. It can be very frustrating because what happens is you're going to have more decisions to make. It looks great when it works, but as humans, we remember those big winners. We don't feel the pain of the ones that come back and ruin the day or make it unchanged. So one of the ways to look at on a runner is if you take it out, runner has to get a runner. To me, you have to be in early.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you have some nice profit in the first one, you did the two. I call it units of risk. It's not lots. It depends on the size of your account. So if you have 2 units of risk and get one, and you want to put the other one as the unchanged, and that's the process that you choose. Yeah, go ahead, but take some data and really focus on that data. Is this worth it? I can't tell you it is or isn't. For me, day trading is like on my swing trades, I will do things like that. Day trades, I'm finding out 2 to 1 for the way I look at things because time is so compressed. It just
Get your money, get out of there.
get hit it and get it. Right? I don't. It's a basketball coach thing. But I'm not. I would say it's a good idea, but use that blackjack or blackjack or poker, playing with house money. Use that when I'm talking about if you get 2 to 1 and you have 2 units on, take one off, let the other one go so you're scratched for the day.
Yep.
You're playing with house money, but I don't know the results. It's something you should check out.
Good stuff. Thank you for that, Coach. B-Man asks, can we look at the Mexican peso? I believe
See,
the Mexican peso was our biggest percentage mover to the upside yesterday. What are we looking at here on the daily, Coach?
well, the white line. Wow.
That looks like
How
the
far
Swiss franc.
back is that 200? Does that go back to the summer?
July. We got June
Mm,
24th.
yeah,
Sorry,
the
June
summer.
4th, 2024. Yeah, last summer. Yep.
Um, wow, that looks pretty bullish. What kind of volume is the Mexican peso? I heard it was starting to do well.
Let's see. Today it traded 52,000 contracts.
I bet. Wow.
Average is about 63,000. Trades decent volume. It trades better than some of the other markets. I mean, it trades more volume than the Nikkei.
Wow.
I'm not taking shots at the Nikkei, but uh,
Well, that's
You
a
know,
tough thing to trade.
it really is. It trades more volume than a couple of markets that we look at here.
Ask Nick Leeson about the Nikkei to trade.
Yeah, right. Uh, yeah, it trades decent volume though.
Well, that could be a turnaround here. Is the 20 crossed and the 50 is, yeah, this could be on. Thank you for that. I'm, I'm marking that down.
So I
Um,
want to pull something up here. And go ahead, Coach. You finish that statement.
no, that could be on the scouting report. I mean, some of that love that kind of action. This could get extensions to a nice run.
Give me 1 second
It's
here.
really slow moving. That's good.
Yeah, might be better for a
But
swing trade, right? If you can find some day trade opportunities in it. Uh, Coach, and again, these are different markets, but I have the Swiss franc on the left side and the Japanese peso on the right side. About 2 weeks ago, I asked you what was on your scouting report. You talked about the Swiss franc when it looked like this, and you said, "Go ahead, Coach. I'm gonna."
no, continue. I love it. Go
Right.
ahead.
So Coach Paul says, "Hey, Swiss franc is on my scouting report because on the daily we gotten above the 200 moving average with some volume, and it looks bullish." Now, again, anything we say here is for educational purposes only, not trading advice. Shout out to the 342 of you that are joining here today. I also do want to ask if you guys have any suggestions for what you want to see on At the Buzzer. Let us know either in the chat or in Discord, and we'll try to bring that to you. But Coach Paul's scouting report is kind of one of my favorite parts of this segment. Um, to kind of look back at things like this, right? I'm bullish, Coach. I know you probably took this in a swing trade. You're probably still long. Um, I don't want to count your pockets, but nice trade. From a technical perspective, the one thing I don't see is the same type of acceleration volume. Maybe we got it a couple of days ago on April 9th. That acceleration about volume above that 200 moving average on the daily in the peso, but we're back above that 200 moving average, and you heard it again. That might go on the scouting report. Does that mean that this is going to have the same fate and rally to the upside? No. But if on a shorter or medium time frame I start to see bullish price action, thank you to Coach Paul.
no, thank you. Let's look at the half hour on that. So,
Claude says we can't get any better. That's not true.
no,
We could
thank
definitely
you,
get better.
Claude.
There's always room for improvement, Claude. All right, Coach. Here we go. Oh, sorry, Coach Paul or Justin Church. I improved, Justin.
Coach. Coaches call each other coach all the
Yep.
time.
Yeah,
But
100%.
wherever you go, you hear it's like dad
Right.
at a children's event. Everybody's your head's spinning around. Um, wow. There was a nice move this last night. Look at that.
Yep.
Um, look at was that yesterday? Was it Sunday night? Oh shoot, I missed this. I consider it the DNA.
Yeah.
I look, it's DNA. It has the setup I'm looking for. It's got flow. The 20 is running. But look at that low. I mean, it's not an accident.
Right.
And this is the Mexican peso.
Mexican peso. Yep.
I mean, I didn't know they were trading that volume. I traded many years ago, and it was like really thin. I'm like, oh, you gotta get out of here. I paid my dues, but this decent volume. Thank you. Who brought that up? I'm gonna give you a golf clap.
That was from B-Man 120. B-Man 120, shout out to you. Hopefully you're in this trade, or maybe even looking at it, but that's a nice one. That is a nice one. Yair
Yeah.
Carrillo says, like they say in construction, ¿Qué más quieres por 20 pesos?
Okay.
Right? You know, how much
What
more do you want for
more?
free? Free.
Yeah. Well, I love Mexico. Spent my honeymoon there many, many years ago
Nice.
in Cozumel, and it was awesome. $5 every day, all the Corona I could drink, and a taxi to town. Um, it's getting a lot more expensive now, but man, big fan of Mexico. And now
Same
I'm a
here.
big fan of the Mexican peso. Yeah, it's well, and someone said trade war volume. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, that this I'm not going to go into the economics of it, but I because I can get confused.
Yeah.
I look at the flow of the market, I can define my risk and reward. It makes more sense to me. But if you've never been to Mexico, Cozumel is one of the nicest places I've ever been to.
Mexico is great, man. I've never had a bad time in Mexico. I've been Cancun a couple times, been to Cozumel a couple times, been to Guadalajara in Mexico. Spent a month there on a
Uh,
project for work for a month, and I'd never heard of Guadalajara before I got there. Literally got my passport. This was in like 2011, 2012. Got my passport the day before my flight went out, uh, and spent a month in Guadalajara. Awesome people, amazing people, great food. Shout out to Mexico. Love Mexico. Uh,
Viva la Mexico.
Coach Vince says Mexico is my second home. Love it. Yeah, it's a great place. Great place. You think gold will hit 3,700 an ounce this year? Yes. Yes.
3,700, really? I don't know. You know what? It's within within volatility range. I'll put it that way.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's not out of the question. It's not out of the question. All right. Any other markets we want to talk about, Coach? We got about 12 minutes here. I think we got to all the questions that we had here, unless you guys have any others. If not, we can give you back some time and send you guys over to Coach Hoop. Any other
What
markets,
is it?
Coach?
Goldman Sachs prediction is for gold is currently 3,700.
Goldman said it.
Well, it's in their name.
Right.
Um,
Can you trade a
so no,
Topstep account in Mexico? I believe you can. I don't think Mexico's on that list. I believe you can. Uh,
yeah, I think so too. Um, so I think there was something I wanted to look. Oh, let's look at the bonds.
all right, let's look at the
Speaking
bonds.
of volume collapse,
And we had a question from who said that? Why don't we look at the Nikkei? We'll look at it every once in a while. It does to me. The movement is a lot similar to the other equity markets, right? Just a real quick analysis of the Nikkei. We are under all of the moving averages that we have here. The 200 is the white one. This is a daily chart. Purple is the 50. Gold is the 20. This looks very similar to the other equity charts right now, and I think it moves similarly. The reason we probably don't cover it is I really don't suggest most traders looking at the Nikkei in Topstep accounts, right? Especially in, some of the smaller accounts, 50K, 100K. I just don't think that it's a market that is suitable for it. If there were micros, then yeah, right? And micros exist, not with Topstep accounts, but similar to silver, right? $25 a tick. I just think it gets a little bit too expensive. It does move pretty great, and if you trade it and you have the account that can facilitate it, it's a great market. But I just think it gets kind of expensive for Topstep accounts. Let's go over to the bonds, Coach. I took the trade this morning. It was a loser, but that's all right. You don't win them
all
all.
right, let's go through that trade.
All right.
I mean, you have losing trades.
All the time. All the time. All right. So we talked about this yesterday. The opening range trade, right? We talked about the 720 central candle. So that what I took? Yeah. Why was I long? Oh no, I traded the 10-year. Sorry, I traded the 30-year, not the ultra bonds. There we go. All right, here we go.
Yeah,
30-year,
little difference.
little different. Here's the 5-minute opening range. And I traded it just with the basic rules of the opening range trade, right? The way that Hogue and JD have been looking at it. Establish the opening range, trade to either extreme of that range. That is not the range. The range was here. There we go. All right. So took the long. This broke out first to the long side. Stopped me out for negative $250. Very low risk trade. Wasn't risking a whole lot. The long ultimately was the right idea. But what I did realize, coach, is that we had some numbers that came out
At 8
after the
o'clock
open.
or
So
7:30.
so we had some 7:30 numbers, which wouldn't have really changed too much. I probably would have gotten in a short if I waited for those 7:30 numbers. But what I'm seeing as well, coach, is and I'm getting a reminder of why I use VWAP. Uh, it never left the range to the upside, and we had
Yeah.
more volume on that equity open. On that equity open, we broke to the upside and was a pretty nice long, but small losing trade.
Well,
I'll take it again.
is that a J trade right there?
Which one?
Just before that, right when we broke out of it. Yeah. Look at that. That's big selling.
This here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that was it. That's right on the
Well,
equity open where a lot of these markets we see volume coming in. And I definitely could have gotten back into this trade, right? Like I said, it was $250 worth of risk, which was really nice. These are not markets that are normally going to just get crazy. They can, right? And we have seen some volatility in the treasuries recently. But there's a couple of, coach, what I really like about these markets move kind of in tandem. I traded the most expensive one, right? I went to the 30-year. I could have gone 10-year. I could have gone 5-year, and it's a similar chart. And by nature, limiting my risk, trading the smaller, the shorter time frames.
yeah, and I would suggest 5-year or 10-year,
Mhm.
especially just getting into it. Um, this is like half the risk.
Yep.
But I'm going to keep an eye on that. Um, and there we go again. Is that the 8 o'clock?
This is 8:30 Central. Here is 7:30. So it's I mean it's a pretty low risk trade on these breaks outside of this range. Maybe you get stopped out on these trades, but again, we're not trying to avoid loss completely. Right? I'm not trying to be 100% right. Looking for places to take uh, kind of low risk or decent risk to pretty nice reward trades on this. Right? If I didn't get stopped out of that trade, there's a ton of opportunity in these markets.
I like what you said. You're not looking to avoid loss. If you have something that works 50% of the time, all right, then you take 2-to-1 risk rewards. Do the math.
Right.
Trying to be right, I know, especially when I first started, um,
It's a lot of
it was
stress in
like
trying to be right all the time. There's a lot of
it's
stress. We talked about this
it's a
actually.
burden.
Maybe we can end with this point, but we talked to Hogan. I was talking to Hogan JD in the green room before we got on the opening call this morning, and they were talking about taking the opening range trades in gold and crude oil, right? And one of the suggestions was when that crude oil range is a smaller range, and I'm not saying any suggestion is wrong, right? But when that crude oil range is smaller, maybe waiting for a higher time frame range would improve the win rate on a trade or the probability of a trade working out. And my question was that very well could be the case, but is the added reward of that uh those logistics, is it worth complicating what is a simple trade? You know what I'm saying? Because it's if
It
I
creates more decisions.
Correct. Correct. Right. So it
Yeah.
is when I think when we're looking at our trade strategies, it's important to ask whether or not the optimization is really going to improve our rewards that much more than just letting good trades work out. Right. If I'm a basketball player, coach, we take it back to basketball for Justin Church, since we make sports analogies all the time here. If I'm a basketball player and I shoot 40% from the 3-point line, I'm not changing my form every time I miss a shot. I'm just going to shoot the ball.
That's a
Becau-
great point. It's true.
be-
I never thought of it that way. Yeah.
because, 40% is a great win rate if I take good shots. So if I try to adjust too much, I'm not leaning on what I know works. Coach Vince says, makes sense. Is it worth increasing the risk to try to avoid the stop? Uh, yeah, I mean, so I think so, Coach Vince. Maybe, and I like the Coach Paul to ATR stop. A lot of times, I think we're looking at, hey, if it breaks the other side of the opening range, I want to be out, and I think there's validity to that too. But this is why, and Coach Vince, you've been on the opening call, and you take some of these trades as well. It's I think we all ask the question to ourselves in the overall context of the market: do we like this trade? The market might be trending up, but on a shorter time frame in the opening range, presenting a short trade. For me, I'm always going to lean on the higher time frame trend. So if it's presenting a short, yeah, if it's presenting a short and the higher time frame trend is long, I'm probably not as inclined to increase that stop. But if it's presenting a long in a longer time frame trend, then yeah, I want to give it the room to work. Uh, but I think it makes sense, right? Give the trade some space. Any comments on that, Coach Paul?
Give the trade space. I just trade less. To me, I like trade. I don't. This sounds crazy, but I'll say it anyway. I don't like trading. I like profitable. I like profit, and
Right.
what I mean by that is, too much trading leads to a lot of drama.
Mm,
I'd rather like to. I'd rather have a defined risk, give it some room, and one reason to get out, um, and let it go. The
yeah.
more I try to, I've tried this, I've done it. And the more decisions you start putting into your process, I think it can cloud it. I'm not saying don't try, but a lot of times more is less. And
Yep.
some of the best traders I knew in the floor were simple. What do you got? What's here? And then just start from there. Oh, it's
Yep.
7 bid at 8. I'm 7 bid. I'm at 8. And if he got filled at 8, he's bidding sevens and let's go. He's getting
Huh.
in and starts trading into his process.
Yeah.
Um, but I love the opening range trade. Um, I like the two ATRs or a breakout of VWAP.
There we go.
That's the way I would look at it myself. But
Good stuff. One last question for Genius Genie. For the opening range, do you consider 15 minutes or 30 minutes from open? Preference, right? You're going to hear me talk about a 3 minute. You'll hear Hogan JD talk about a 1 minute. Shout out to Coach Paul looking at a 30 minute. Whatever you use, just keep it consistent. Uh, keep it consistent. And little sneak preview for you, those of you here, we might have some opening range indicators coming to Topstep X soon. Coach, you got anything before we go?
um, Viva la Mexican peso. I'll be watching it. Thank you. That's
There
it.
we there we go. There we go. All right. We got Coach Hoop doing a class in about 15 minutes in Discord. Then, of course, Coach Ray and Coach Vince, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time in Discord as well. Coach Dakota back here for slow markets. Today's Tuesday, right? Yep, today's Tuesday.
All day.
And then we have Aaron Luce and Deanna trading in London, 1:30 Central Time for Aaron and 3:30 Central Time for D. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so D is going to have Jerome on her show. They do what's called Neuro Wednesdays. Dr. Jerome, our brain doctor, goes over some psychology stuff for trading, talking all about the brain and how it relates to trading. Can't watch it live. I definitely suggest to rewatch it. Thank you all for joining. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up button on the way out. Andrew, thank you as always for helping us run this show. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.